Let me ask you something. Think back to the last compliment someone gave you that you actually remember. Not a polite "you look great" in passing, something that genuinely stayed with you. Something you found yourself turning over afterward, maybe hours later, maybe the next day. What made it stick? Odds are it wasn't the most extravagant thing anyone has ever said to you. Odds are it was something specific. Something that felt like the person had actually been paying attention. Something that touched not just your appearance or your achievement, but your character, the part of you that you actually care about. That's the thing about compliments. Most of them evaporate almost immediately. They're received with a smile, filed as pleasantness, and forgotten within minutes. But certain compliments, delivered with the right awareness, rooted in genuine observation, they do something entirely different. They follow a person home. They show up in quiet moments. They feel, somehow, more like being seen than being praised. Today we're going to look at 3 of them. Not as pickup lines or scripted phrases, those are the first thing to avoid, but as a framework for understanding what makes a compliment land at depth rather than at the surface. This is built on research in social psychology, attachment theory, and communication science. This is Aphorism Archive. Let's get into it. Compliment 1. Notice something they're proud of that they don't advertise. The first category of compliment that genuinely lingers is one that identifies something the person values about themselves but rarely hears acknowledged by others. Here's the key distinction. Most compliments target what's visible. The obvious things, how someone looks, their professional accomplishments, their social confidence. These are real, and acknowledging them isn't wrong. But they're also things the person has heard before, probably many times. The compliment lands in already crowded territory. The compliment that creates a lasting impression targets what's felt rather than displayed. The quiet strength someone carries in a difficult situation. The way they ask questions that actually follow what was said rather than waiting for their turn to speak. The care they put into something small that most people would have rushed. The thoughtfulness that shows up in how they treat people on the periphery, a waiter, a stranger, someone who can do nothing for them. Research on self-concept and identity consistently shows that people have a hierarchy of self-attributes, things they consider central to who they are versus things they consider more peripheral. Compliments that land on something central to a person's identity, something they work at, something they take quiet pride in, register entirely differently than compliments on peripheral attributes. They feel like recognition rather than flattery. Practically, this means the compliment requires some investment of attention on your part. You can't manufacture it. You have to actually notice something real. Which is why the first and most important step isn't about what to say, it's about genuinely paying attention. Watch how someone moves through a situation. Listen to what they care about when they talk. Notice what they do when they think no one's watching. When you do observe something real and specific, the delivery is simple. Name what you saw, directly and without embellishment. The way you handled that was genuinely impressive. You have a real gift for making people feel comfortable. I noticed it immediately. There's a thoughtfulness in how you talk about that most people don't have. No flourish. No exaggeration. Just the observation, offered cleanly. The specificity is what makes it feel true. And things that feel true echo. Compliment 2, acknowledge the effort behind the result. The second compliment category works on a different psychological mechanism, one rooted in how people relate to their own effort and growth. Carol Dweck's landmark research on praise and motivation, the work that gave us the concept of growth mindset, made a finding with implications far beyond education. How praise is framed dramatically changes how it's received and how it affects a person's relationship to their own capabilities. Her research found that praising the outcome, "You're so talented, you're a natural," actually tends to create fragility. People praised this way become protective of their reputation and risk-averse, because failure would undermine the fixed identity they've been given. but praising the process, the effort, the persistence, the willingness to work at something, creates resilience and genuine self-confidence. In the context of compliments, this principle translates into something powerful. When you acknowledge not just what someone has achieved but what it took to get there, the discipline, the courage, the sustained effort, you're recognizing their agency. You're saying, I see not just what you are, but what you chose to become. That is a fundamentally different and more meaningful form of recognition. Think about someone who has built real fitness, or mastered a skill, or rebuilt their life after something difficult, or consistently shows up with warmth and patience even under stress. These things weren't given to them. They were built. And most compliments, by focusing on the result, skip over the most meaningful part, the person's own role in creating it. Delivered well, this sounds like, I can tell how much work has gone into that. Or, the consistency it takes to do that is something most people underestimate. Or simply, that kind of thing doesn't happen by accident, I respect it. What this communicates, beneath the words, I see you as someone with agency and intention, not just someone who got lucky or was born a certain way. That is a deeply affirming thing to hear, and it tends to stay. Compliment 3. Name the effect they have on the room. The third compliment is the most subtle and, when delivered with the right calm, often the most lasting. It involves naming something the person may be entirely unaware of, the effect their presence has on the people and the environment around them. Here's why this works at such a deep level. Most people are, to some degree, uncertain about how they come across. We all have an internal experience of ourselves and then a persistent, low-level question about whether that experience matches what others perceive. Am I too much? Not enough? Do I actually make things better when I'm in a room, or am I invisible? Do I put people at ease or do I make them work? These are not questions most people consciously ask themselves, but they run as a kind of background hum in the social nervous system. And when someone answers one of those questions, not with reassurance, which feels performative, but with a specific, grounded observation, it lands somewhere very real. Researcher Nicholas Christakis at Harvard has studied social contagion and how individual behavior ripples through social networks. His work demonstrates that emotional states, generosity, and even happiness are genuinely contagious, that the presence of certain people measurably affects the well-being of those around them. When you name that in someone, you're acknowledging something true about their social impact that most people never hear articulated. In practice, this compliment sounds like, there's something about how you show up that makes people relax. I've noticed it. Or, the energy in a room changes when you come into it, not in a loud way, just in a way that's real. Or, people are more honest around you than they probably realize. That's a rare quality. The key delivery element here is calm confidence. You're not offering the observation as flattery or as a bid for her approval. You're offering it as a simple, stated fact, the way you'd describe something you observed in nature. Grounded. Unhurried. Not seeking a reaction. That tone, observational rather than performative, is precisely what gives it weight. You're not trying to impress her with what you've noticed. You're simply telling her what's true. And the combination of the insight itself plus the composure with which it's delivered creates something that doesn't evaporate. It sits. A word on delivery, because the same words said two different ways can have entirely opposite effects. The thing that kills most compliments isn't the content, it's the neediness embedded in the delivery. A compliment offered while waiting for a reaction, while monitoring her face for approval, while hoping it lands the way you intended, that anxiety comes through. And what it communicates is not I've noticed something real about you, but I want something from you. That reframes the entire exchange and drains the observation of its power. The alternative is what some researchers call non-contingent communication, saying something true without structuring the delivery around a desired response. You offer the observation, and then you let it land or not. You don't watch for confirmation. You don't immediately follow up to check whether it worked. You say it because it's true, and you move on. This is harder than it sounds, because it requires you to have genuinely internalized the compliment as an observation rather than a tool. If you're using it as a technique, the technique will show. If you're using it as a way of sharing something you actually noticed, it won't. The difference is felt immediately. Practically, deliver it once, cleanly, without over-explaining. Don't elaborate unless she asks. Don't stack compliments. One well-placed observation does far more than 3 enthusiastic ones. And after you've said it, redirect the conversation. The power of the moment is in what it leaves behind, not in what you do with it immediately afterward.